How many are on the planning side of the department in here today? Just one? Two? Yeah, no. Everybody else on highway management? Okay. I'm here today to talk about partnerships, and actually what we're doing is a partnership program today. And I want you all to feel comfortable about if you have issues that come up and you need to talk to somebody, give Gary a call, and he can put you in touch with one of the experts today that given a presentation. If you have a question on salt tolerant plants or what to use in a certain situation. I know that the department does not have, I don't believe there's a landscape architect or a horticulturist now in the Department of Transportation. So we do have, or I still use we when I say that, but central office has some expertise in biology and things like that. So, but if anything comes up, please don't hesitate to ask. It's why we're here. We want to provide any help that we can. Again, today I want to talk about making use of partnerships in the design process and also in the maintenance program. Really, these types of programs are not new. They've been around for a long time, and many relate to project development, where you're going through the environmental stage of a project and you set up stakeholder groups, shareholder groups, things like that, which help in the design of the project. Others relate to project management. Federal Highway Administration has been concerned with public-private partnerships for quite some time. They call them 3P programs. 3P, ring a bell? And traditionally involve the private sector in many aspects of project development. Federal Highway reports that the transportation needs of our nation continue to outpace our ability to respond to them through traditional public means. In other words, there's not enough money out there to do everything we want to do. Despite the hard evidence of growing need, the funding available for highway and transportation projects is not raised at a corresponding rate. Federal Highway states that funding for maintenance of highways just to maintain current highway conditions are at least 40% greater than the revenues we have coming in. Public-private partnerships can help stretch the traditional transportation budget for funding projects, as well as create an atmosphere of cooperation between various levels of state government. A good example of a 3P project that we started about 3 years ago was down in District 10. For a number of years, the local district down there, along with the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, have been looking at safety issues and environmental issues concerning State Route 668 that went right by Old Man's Cave. You had to park in the parking lot and walk across the state route to get to Old Man's Cave. And there were many, many instances of near misses of pedestrians, of people gawking around going down through there. It's a beautiful area. All of a sudden, there's somebody out in front of them. ODOT never had the funding for this type of a project. So there is a group called the Friends of the Hocking Hills. They got their heads together and they decided that they would pay for a feasibility study to come up with an alternative to relocate the road through this area. They raised a little over $100,000. With this seed money, the department was able to put the project on the programmatic. Once the project was deemed feasible through the programmatic study, then all of a sudden a project, I believe up in Cleveland, didn't go through, and ODOT had the money to move forward with this project. If it hadn't been for the private group coming together to raise the money, this project would have never happened. I happened to be working for a consultant at that time, and I was the project manager on this job. We used a lot of techniques that involved the Green Highway Partnership initiatives. We used pleasant curves of the road, which fit right in with the rest of the route down through there. We did landscaping. There was a bike path, pedestrian path that walks along the edge of it. And it turned out to be a project that everybody cooperated on. You had ODOT, you had the locals, you had the privates, and the project just went through amazingly well. And it's a good example of what you can accomplish if you have everybody working together, including the private sector. The public-private partnerships that may not involve strong contractual agreements like some of the ones for project development are called collaborative projects. And they can come in a form of standing committees and groups and stakeholders and things like that. When it comes to coming together and offering expertise and guidance to the department. These types of partnerships provide a public forum for both private and public entities to exchange ideas, provide better service, and to meet citizen project expectations. Volunteer groups with an interest in the civic pride also form public-private partnerships with transportation agencies. Beyond the obvious needs being addressed by Ohio's public-private partnerships and development of projects for roads, bridges, and alternative funding, you have these types of partnerships taking place in the maintenance of roads. Some of the areas that come to mind are the Adopt a Highway program. The Adopt a Highway program has been around for quite a while. It initially started out as a central office program, and I believe now that it is fully administered in the districts and is a litter pickup program, and seems to be working out pretty well. I know that sometimes people get out there to get real gung-ho initially to start the programs out, picking up litter, and then every time they go out, it gets a few less volunteers. But that's sort of the way that volunteer initiatives go. The Ohio Byway program was set up, administered at the central office level, and consists of numerous byways through the state that are set up and advertised by ODOT, both at the state and the federal level, and provide scenic areas for people to actually go and drive to parts of the state which maybe not everybody has been to. And it brings a tourism dollar to some of the impoverished counties and is a showcase for the state of Ohio. Another program involves rest areas. And when I was working with the rest area program, it was called the Ohio Industries for the Handicapped program. It took care of maintenance of the rest areas. To me, it was a very satisfied program in the fact that handicapped individuals could go out, learn a trade, interact with the public, and provide a service that really turned out a good product in the maintenance of the rest area. Once they become comfortable and got the training in under their belt, then they could move on into the private sector and work similar types of jobs. It was certainly beat sitting at a table, putting a bolt in a bag and passing it to somebody else to put the nut in it and things like that. They were out there, they were doing a service, they met people, and it was really very well received. And I'm glad that continues to go forward today to some level. Another program involved vending machines and providing snacks at rest areas. I have to tell you that I was against this program when it started out because I felt that it provided an opportunity for crime to develop at the rest area with money out there and pop and things, and they'd be smashing the machines and taking the products out of them and all this kind of stuff. The Bureau of Services for the Visually Impaired convinced me that they didn't think this would be an issue. And each one of these facilities is a job for a visually impaired person. They normally have a route that they run. They have a driver. They go out, they stock the machines, they come back, take the money. So there's very little money in these machines at any one given time. And it's turned out to be pretty well received by the public. Again, a program that is in cooperation with ODOT. Now, when you're getting all these programs out there and you're getting all this publicity for them, and people saying, gee, ODOT is doing a great job of providing services to the public. We can get our opinion into a highway project and all this kind of good stuff. And all of a sudden, something goes wrong. People aren't picking up litter. The Scenic road folks are not following their program for maintaining the scenic roads. And all of a sudden, ODOT starts getting bad publicity. Well, you don't want to get that. Nobody at ODOT likes bad publicity. So here's a few things that you might keep in mind when you're working with these public-private partnership programs. Number one, a commitment from executive leadership is very important. It kind of flows from top down. If the boss is in favor of it, then the people on down the line know that there needs to be a commitment to that. The executive leadership needs to have a direct knowledge of the program and approval of the partnership, no matter what the size. Needs to show support, needs to put out news releases for the public to read what's going on, and they need to develop easy to use manuals and procedures. Well-crafted plan. Folks need to know what's expected of them. They need to know what they're supposed to be doing and what the mission of the program is. Not only from the private sector, but in the public sector also. So if you don't have a good plan put together, what if there's a dispute that shows up? A good plan needs to have a process on how you go through dispute resolution. It needs to clearly define responsibilities, who the contact people are within the private sector as well as within the public sector. And what if it's just not working? What are they supposed to do? You get together, you try to save the project and correct the issues that are going on and move forward. So that's what you need to do with a good, well-crafted plan right at the very beginning. Communication with the partners. You can't just set up a program and forget about it and walk away. And I know that something like the litter control program is one that you may have a tendency not to stay in touch as much as you need to with the group picking up the litter. But you need to talk to them. You need to see how many bags of trash you're picking up. You need to do a little patting on the back and saying you're doing a good job, or hey, you're missing this area. Timely sharing of information, communicating on a regular basis is very important. Training. One of the better ways to ensure the partnership succeeds is to provide good training and then come back and touch again on that training in the future so that people, people change. They get new volunteers, jobs within the department change. So you need to go back in and refresh that training on a periodic basis. Everybody know who their coordinators are for these different programs? Tim Bruni, everybody know Tim Bruni. He has the rest area maintenance programs. Actually, Shina Galwell has changed jobs, and I forgot to update that, but Tom Barrett is now running the Scenic Byways program. Bureau of Services for the Visually Impaired, the Vending Machine program, and again is Tim Bruni. And again, the Adopt a Highway is normally in the district. So, where do we go from here? Clearly, partnerships programs can be useful when fostering better public-private relationships. They can also provide instances of bad publicity if it's not being maintained correctly. I've seen great success stories, and I've seen ones that didn't do so well. And most of them involve not staying in good contact with the people you're working with. What about what's in the horizon? Can you envision electric fueling stations at rest areas? They're already studying it. With gas prices going down, it may slow up that initiative a little bit, but I wouldn't be surprised if in the future you see something like that. And it probably would be a partnership program with the utility. Solar energy panels on right-of-ways, wind machines. Has anybody traveled out west and all of a sudden you come over a hill and all you see are wind machines all over the place? Canada has a tremendous amount of solar panels on public right-of-way, big solar panels which feed directly into their utility system. And they're making a difference by numbers of these. Again, with fuel rates down right now, how many think fuel rates going to stay low? Not going to happen, probably. There'll be some way, some refinery will go down, and all of a sudden, the price will go up. Most of us have figured the government out on that. Wildflower programs. We had a rather large wildflower program back in the 80s. Probably won't be one that big, but they're already doing wildflower programs in several districts right now on a limited basis. There's an experimental program in District 9, Chillicothe, with a pollinator program. And they're planting plots and studying them right now to see if they can increase the amount of area for bees to pollinate. We have a problem with our bees being infected with a disease, and also a lowering of areas where they can pollinate. So that's ongoing, and we'll see what happens. Maybe be able to report on that in the future. Well, in wrapping up, Government in general is being looked at by the public as a way to become involved and facilitate projects that better reflect their local goals, especially in the planning of projects. Partnership programs have demonstrated success for both the private and the public sector, and I anticipate that those will continue in the future. Thank you.